So my dad and I are lost on this dirt road running through a narrow valley in rural Virginia. And we're fogged in, and it's pouring rain. And that wouldn't be a problem, except that we really need to roll the windows down. Because in the back seat is my dog, Willie Nelson. And last night at the motel, he ate something unidentifiable from a trash can. And his gastric distress has led to a different kind of distress in the vehicle. And we're in this spot, on this road, in this valley, because somewhere in this valley is where my 9th great-grandfather immigrated to. And I just recently learned this because I have all the tools you need for modern genealogical research. The Ancestry.com app and a crippling case of insomnia. So I have become obsessed in this free time. I am treating this app the way my friends treat fantasy football. I am building my tree. I am emailing octogenarian strangers around the country trading tips. I'm getting photos sent to me, and I'm slowly drawing out this tree. And so I finally call my dad at a ridiculous hour, and he answers, and I say, "Dad, I have something to tell you. We're German." Now, this was surprising, not just because it's clearly news that could have waited for morning, but because we thought we were British. My last name is Clem, which isn't that frequent of a name, but somewhere along the line, someone just said, "Oh, it's probably shortened from Clemens. It's Clem. You're British. That's fine." And so we just stuck with that. It's this sort of willful ignorance of where you come from that you have the luxury as a white American of having. And growing up, I knew that my parents were from Texas, my grandparents were from Texas, but despite what Texans will tell you, Texan is not a nationality. And so in addition to learning that we were from Germany, I learned that we fled for religious freedom, we were anti-slavery, and that my direct descendant had fought for the North in the Civil War. And that's like hitting the trifecta of white guilt relief. Now, if you've seen the Ancestry.com commercials, you hear stories about how people find out that they're connected to European nobility or they're direct descendants of Genghis Khan. Not the Clems. I found out that one of the first patriarch Clem, not my direct relative, but a cousin or something, was a man by the name of Isaiah Clem, but he went by the nickname Biscuit. And he went by it so much that it was on the census, which tells me he's committed to the nickname, and also that the Clems have never been a skinny people. And I become fascinated, and my imagination runs wild as to who this Biscuit Clem was. And the thought of the trans-Earth communication that had to have resulted for other Clems to come to the new world following him. And so the thought of this, a letter has arrived from the New World. Cousin Biscuit writes, lost to history, what you write in that tells your family to say goodbye to everything and everyone you know, get on a boat for the New World. So I am, double down, fascinated by this. Call my dad back up. Hey, let's drive from Boston to Texas, detour to Virginia, find our homeland, let's do this. And he said, enthusiastically, I'm in, which was great because I hadn't posed it as a question. My wife was pregnant with twins. I was on the search for names for these kids, and clearly my window for this road trip was shrinking by the day. And so my very pregnant and very understanding wife sends me, our dog, and my dad off on this road trip with 2 rules. Drive safe, and we're not naming a kid Biscuit. And so my dad and I set off on our Steinbeckian Travels with Charlie version, where we're going to cross the country during an election year, and we're going to find out where we're from and have these hugely meaningful father-son bonding moments before I become a father and he gets promoted to grandpa. And so we're in this valley, and the valley that my family found by ship and by wagon and by the stars. And we have a truck with GPS, a farty dog in the back, and Google Maps, and we are hopelessly lost. But we've gotten close enough. It's getting late. We have to hit the road. We have the goosebumps of feeling like we're close. And so we're doing this 3-point turn through a driveway or the lawn of these two gentlemen who are looking at us in a way that suggests they do not appreciate out-of-state plates in their driveway. And at this point, Willie, who has shown at best modest interest in this whole endeavor to date, identifies that they too have a dog that he needs to meet. And so as he jumps up to establish his desire, his paw lands on the power window button, and he jumps out the window of the moving vehicle. And he's fine. He lands, rolls, and these two gentlemen who have been side-eyeing us help us corral him. They introduce themselves, and they ask us, where are we going? What are we trying to look for? And it turns out we're cousins. We have the same 7th great-grandfather named Dieter. And he's telling us we've got all sorts of relatives in the valley. We've stumbled into the Valley of the Clems. And as he's explaining this, it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that in the early days of this narrow valley, the family tree did not branch very wide. or as this gentleman says to us, well, back then, who you married sort of depended on how far you wanted to walk to find a wife. And so Willie, through his divine canine intervention, has introduced us to these strangers who are family. And they give us directions. And minutes later, we're in this field, and I am standing at the crumbling stone foundation of the first Clem family home in America, where over 250 years ago, Johann de Witt Clem, who had left Germany, got to this point and said, here is home. Or knowing the Clem family and their luck with road trips, and the fact that the census tells me he had his wife, 5 kids, and his mother-in-law in the wagon, and maybe a farty horse, finally said, fine, this is far enough. Yes, kids, we're there yet. Welcome home. And I like to think that around the valley, the other settlers looked up from their homesteading and said, oh, Jesus, more Clems. There goes the neighborhood.